So we're going to talk about some of the ways in which you can improve your overall financial picture, thinking about it through the perspective of the age-old corporate document of a balance sheet. We think those statements that a corporation typically uses, the balance sheet, the income statement, are great statements to apply to your personal life. That's something that we do here in the office when we're kind of visiting with people and helping them sort of get track of what their overall financial picture is. My name is Joel Garris. I'm a certified financial planner, certified financial fiduciary with Nelson Financial Planning. We're joined again in this segment with our associate Garrett Fields, also a certified financial fiduciary at Nelson Financial Planning. So Garrett, tell us, we were talking about the balance sheet, assets, liabilities, assets minus liabilities obviously equal your net worth. What are some of the ways in which somebody can really look to improve their overall balance?
Sure. So the easiest way is to start saving more money. That goes on the asset side, that builds that side bigger, which builds your net worth. Also, having some liquidity and having some cash on the asset side is a huge way to build your net worth, because what ends up happening is you end up overspending 1 month, and that's okay, that's normal, but you overspend 1 month, and in order to keep that extra money off the credit cards, you're able to put it, you're able to pull from your savings account and pay off that bill. And as we talked about earlier with credit cards, those interest rates can be upwards of 20%. That can start to rack up really, really fast. So having some cash and having some liquid assets on the side, that can really keep you from really destroying your whole financial picture.
Well, and certainly having that emergency savings account. I mean, we can't emphasize that enough. You just look at what's gone on over the past year and a half with the pandemic, and a lot of people having their jobs, just completely, ripped out from them. And the single biggest way you can very quickly undermine your net worth, your balance statement perspective, is if you don't have that emergency savings, right, then you got to go to the credit cards. The credit cards have high interest rates, and so ultimately then that winds up sort of really having a cascading effect pretty quickly on you, which I guess also then leads us to sort of another way that you can improve the picture, and that's the liability side, right?
Paying off your short-term liabilities, those normally have the highest interest rates, and those are going to be the ones that rack up the fastest. And so by paying those off as quickly as possible, that's going to help you, especially in the long run.
Well, and another way to improve the asset side is something that you kind of pointed out in the previous segment, which is oftentimes people sort of forget about some accounts or maybe an old 401k or what have you that's out there, and then lo and behold, they find out, oh, it was sitting in cash all this time. So it's important to also sort of know the asset allocation of the assets that you've got.
Exactly. Not only knowing the asset allocation, knowing what you have, but knowing exactly what you're invested in. I mean, we try to go over in detail what our clients are invested in, because we want them to be knowledgeable, and we want them to be confident, and we want them to know what they're invested in order to get a better rate of return.
Right, because if you get a better rate of return, then obviously the asset side is going to be improving as well. So those are some of the things, if you think about your net worth, a person's net worth, relate it back to that balance sheet concept. Those are some of the things that you can really do to sort of improve the asset side, decrease the liability side, and ultimately improve your overall net worth. So let's shift gears to sort of that other sort of important document, which is the income statement. So let's set the table first. What's sort of the fundamentals of the income statement, if you will?
Sure. So the income statement is money in, money out. It starts with how much money you make a month, and then we subtract all your expenses every single month, and then what you have at the end is hopefully positive, and that's how much you're able to
problem if
save.
It's not.
Exactly. Yeah. We need to make some changes if it's not. But the nice thing about the income statement is you put all of your expenses down. This includes, the $5 Starbucks expense that you do every single day. And the thing with this is whenever you put, okay, I go to Starbucks every single day and I spend $5 every single day, every time you swipe the credit card, that might seem like a small amount. But whenever you put it down on paper and you start to actually take a look at it, a lot of times people are shocked as to how much they're spending and where.
Yeah, the exercise of tracking your expenses, boy, that's a traditional one. We were talking a little bit about Dave Ramsey in the prior segment. That's certainly something that he advocates as well. And just the notion of sort of sitting at the end of the month and really tracking it and seeing those totals it can often surprise people at where the money is going. That's for sure. The other concept that I think folks sort of forget when they think about saving money is they think about, okay, I got money in, I got money coming out, much like the income statement shows, and then whatever's left over, that's the part that I'm gonna save, and that's probably not the right perspective, is it?
No. So what you need to do first is you need to what's called pay yourself first, which is determine how much you want to invest or how much you want to save at the each month, and then whatever's left over, that's what you have the ability to spend. Far too many people do it backwards, and they try to spend first, and then whatever's left over, they end up saving. But the reality is that you end up spending it all.
If you're always saying this is the thing that I'm going to do at the end, chances are at the end there's not enough left over to do what you want to do. So that kind of goes to how you improve your overall position when it comes to income, your income statement, right? Little changes can certainly make a lot if you're keeping track of expenses, that you can see where you can make some adjustments.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like we were just talking about, I don't mean to beat up on Starbucks too much, but, $5...
Dunkin'.
Yeah.
Okay, or Krispy Kreme.
Well, $5 a day on coffee, that ends up being just under $2,000 a year. And so, whenever you start to look at it like that's an enormous amount of money that you're spending on coffee every single day. And whenever you spend $5 a day, it doesn't seem like much, but whenever you get to the end of the year and you see a $2,000 bill or $2,000 going towards these coffee corporations, it's a big number.
It's not, and the good news is, as an investor, we typically run Morningstar analysis on our client portfolios, things like that. And one of the names that we see is Starbucks. So if you're an investor, it's a good thing. If you're trying to get on top of your finances, that would be the place to kind of think about, because it's those types of little changes, right, that can make a big difference over time. I know you did a video for our Instagram channel, our Instagram audience, and you talked a little bit about that. Why don't you kind of share the nuts and bolts of that, because that is pretty dramatic of the importance of starting early, even with a small amount. And so I'll let you talk more about that.
Sure. So I actually have the numbers right in front of me, and far too many people think, oh, I don't have enough money to start investing, or I'll start investing around my 40s or 50s whenever I'm actually making money. Well, the reality is that you don't actually need a lot of money to get started. And the most important thing when you invest is time. And so the example here is, let's say you have two friends. The first one starts investing at 18, and he invests $2,500 a year up until age 27, and then he stops. So he had a total investment of $22,500. Now, assuming he gets a 10% rate of return, by the time he turns 65, he's going to have $1.5 million. Now, he only invested $22,000, and that sounds like a lot, but again, that was over 10 years. Now, his friend started at age 27 and invested through age 65. And again, he invested the same amount of money a year, $2,500, except because he invested over a longer period of time, he invested $97,500, so almost 4 times more. Well, the reality is that he only ended up with $1 million. And the reason for that is because the first friend that started at age 18, he got in 10 years earlier. So compound interest, like we talked about in the previous segment, Einstein said it was the 8th wonder of the world, that was able to take a hold that much faster, and he ended up with $500,000 more, even though he invested a fourth of what his friend invested.
Some pretty dramatic results, which I think really, really underscores the importance of getting started. And maybe you're not 18, maybe you're 28 or 38. The reality is that the sooner you start, the more you can at least give yourself the advantage of time. I think far too many people, is the old adage of it's not about timing, it's about time in.
Exactly. And I mean, the reality is that this is $200 a month that he was doing. It's not that much. Most people are able to do that, but they don't think that that's going to make a difference. And in the reality, the math says that they're wrong. It's going to make a huge difference.
Thanks for joining us on the program this morning.
Absolutely. Enjoyed it.
We enjoyed it. Coming up next on the program, we're talking about somebody that has $5 billion, with a B, $billion in their Roth, how that happened, and how it might actually wind up affecting you. Coming up next here on Dollars and Cents with Joel Garris of Nelson Financial Planning.